Hey folks, and welcome to another edition of the Vacation Voyagers at my home. It's actually my new little backdrop. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys like my colors and my pretty little lights and all that cool stuff. I've been trying to update and upgrade all of my equipment to give a little bit better ambiance for you guys. And I decided what I'm going to do is give it a shot and give you what I'd like to call my top 10 do's and don'ts of cruising. So basically all this is for you, the cruiser, whether you've cruised 5, 10, 15, 20 times. If you cruised 100 times, you don't need to hear this. I don't need to tell you anything you already know. But if you're a first-time cruiser, you really need to listen to this because I am going to give you some tips on your cruise. So let's get started right now. Do you like it? Right now. I don't know where I'm pointing to. Let's go that way. All right, so we are cruising. I wish I was right now, but I'm not. I'm at home. But for all of you who are cruising, who have just booked their first cruise, second, 10th, whatever it is, before you guys cruise, you have to know these things, and it will help your cruise be a lot smoother and without a whole lot of issues when you get to the cruise port. I always have issues at one point in time on a cruise. It just happens. But I'd like to give you some pointers and some tips. It will help you have a smoother transition from land to sea. So let's get started with number 1. So my first tip is one that gets avoided a lot more than I would expect, and that is people not checking on their cruises after they book them. That is a huge mistake when you do not check up on your cruises. It is very important for you guys to get online and to pull up your cruise and make sure that everything is okay on the cruise. Make sure there's no changes. A lot of mistakes that people make is they forget to do the surveys or fill out the forms that they send their guests or passengers. They never call you. They always send you either an email or they just put it online. I've heard a lot of people talking about how they were having issues getting on the ship because they didn't fill out a form that they were supposed to fill out and they never received the form. So it's very important that you guys get online and make sure that your to-do list on your cruise is completed before you go to cruise port, because if it isn't completed, they're not going to allow you on that ship until it is. So it just makes it a lot easier to continuously check on your cruise as you're waiting for it. And again, doesn't matter how long away it is, you still need to keep up with it because they give you deadlines to do things, and more than likely, if you don't do it, it's going to cause a big problem for you to get on the ship when you get there. So make sure you just keep up with your emails through the cruise line, or make sure you at least get online and check your cruise to make sure there's nothing changing or anything that they wanted from you that you didn't know about. It helps a lot because it does happen a lot on cruise ships, especially during this time with vaccines, tests, and stuff like that. A lot of people assume that a test that they might have taken is going to be okay for them to get on the ship, and then to come find out they won't allow those types of tests. So just make sure that you have everything that you need and ready before you get to the cruise port, because if you don't, you're going to have issues. So my second one is kind of tied into the first one, and it has to do with keeping up with your cruise. Not only do you need to keep up with your to-do list and changes and stuff like that, you also need to keep up with deals that cruise lines put out online. Cruise lines will offer specials on those cruises, and what I mean by that is they will offer specials on drink packages, dining packages, specialty dining packages. We just got back from the Wonder a couple months ago, and Voyager Tea had found a special running online where they had unlimited dining for an X amount of dollars for each person, and it turned out that it was cheaper to do unlimited than it was to book. I think it was two different. If we would have booked two specialty restaurants, it would have been the same price for the unlimited dining. So we were able to go to every specialty dining place that they had on the ship and do it 6 or 7 times versus paying for 2 for the same price. Make sure that they're not running specials on excursions, on drink packages, on internet packages, on dining packages, because they do that a lot. And if you catch it and you do it, it could save you a lot of money. So while you are keeping up with your cruise, check on those specials, because they do pop up and they do save you a lot of money. All right, so for tip number 3, which is my biggest tip for me because I worry about this more than anything, and that is booking a flight. If you have to fly in, if you're coming from a far distance to go to a cruise ship, do not book it the same day that you're leaving, because anything could prevent you from getting on that ship if you book it the day of. If the flight gets canceled, if the flight gets delayed, it could mean your cruise is over, because cruise ships do not wait for passengers who are late. If you're not there on time, you're out of luck. So if you do have to fly in the day before, get there early, get a hotel, spend the extra $100 for the hotel. That way you know for sure that you will get on that cruise ship the next day. That is my biggest fear, flying in the same day and my flight getting canceled. It actually happened to us once, and we got lucky and were able to find another flight into Miami is where we were going, but it was close and we got lucky. I don't want to have that feeling again, because it was a big cruise that we had planned. We were super psyched to get on that cruise ship, and to walk into the airport to be told that your flight had just been canceled, that is not a good feeling. So book it early, day early, couple days early, spend a day at the port, look at the water. Just make sure you're there before the cruise ship leaves, because it will leave without you. Okay, so for my next tip, number 4, and that is documents. All documents. Make sure that you have all of your documents ready to go, and make sure you bring them also. Don't just say, oh, they're ready to go, and then leave them at the house. Make sure you bring everything. Vaccine card, make sure you have that. If they require it, make sure that you bring that vaccine card, because if you forget it, they're not going to let you on the ship. Also, your negative test. Make sure that you have a copy of your negative test. Right now, they're still asking for people to show negative tests before you get on a cruise ship. Make sure you print a copy of that and bring that with you. You can have it on your phone as well, but it's a whole lot easier to print it off and to show it to them right then and there. They much prefer that than you fumbling through your phone. Also, print out your luggage tags so you can hand that to them as soon as you get to the port, because that's the first thing they'll ask you for is your luggage tags. Also, your temporary sail pass card that they ask you to print off, make sure you print that off too. It makes your transition from the cruise terminal to the ship 1,000 times easier. If you don't have those documents, it can mess up your whole cruise. It could take you hours and hours to get on the ship. Also, your passport, your driver's license, your birth certificate, whatever you need to get on that ship, you need to bring that. Do not forget them. If you don't have a passport, they usually will ask for a valid ID and a birth certificate, but it's just so much easier to use a passport, because a lot of people don't think about it when they're getting on a cruise ship, because they're leaving from the United States, but they're going to different countries. So you have to have a passport or a birth certificate and driver's license to be able to go to different countries. So make sure you have all your documents in order, everything that you need. Again, check online, make sure that what they're asking you for is what you bring, because if they ask you for these documents and you don't have them, you're not going to get on a cruise ship. It's just simple as that, and that's not what you don't want. That nobody wants that. Okay, so you finally got on the ship. You got all your documents. So far, so good, right? So now you're on the ship. You just walked on the ship. Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm on the ship. Right now, I'm getting excited. Imagining myself getting on the ship, just walking, taking that first step. I'm on the ship. Whee, I'm on the ship. That's an exciting moment. Once you hit that deck, it's just, it's like, an aura. You know, it's like, oh, I'm on the ship. So let's talk about what you do when you get on the ship. Now, this can vary from cruise to cruise, but I know what doesn't vary, and that is muster stations. So unless you have to do something as soon as you get on the ship that's not involving a muster station, first thing you should do when you get on the ship, go find your muster station and get it over with. It takes 10 seconds to do now. You would be surprised how many people do not do it and wait and wait and wait and wait until we're ready to take off and sail away, and they won't sail away because there's still 150 people that hasn't done their muster station yet. It's probably the easiest thing that you can do on a ship right now, because since the pandemic, it's as simple as going, finding your muster station, signing in with your card or your cell pass that they give you, and watching them put on a life jacket. That's all you do. Some cruise lines make you watch a video through their app, but for the most part, go to your muster station, watch them put on a life jacket, and you're done. It's in and out. Unless you have to do some bookings and stuff like that as soon as you get on the ship, which we will talk about in a second, get to that muster station, get it over with, so you can do whatever you want from then on out. Okay, so this next tip is the exception of the rule about going to the muster station as soon as you get on the ship. Usually if you book specialty dining, if you book them individually, then you can reserve your spots online. Sometimes they offer specials online where you can buy unlimited dining package, where you can go to all the restaurants that you want for X amount of money, but they will not let you book them online. You have to book it as soon as you get on the ship. So if you do buy an unlimited dining package, and you do have to do it when you get on the ship, then that should be the very first thing that you do as soon as you get on the ship, is go straight to a specialty restaurant and book your dining. Now, you can book all of your dining. As far as Royal Caribbean's concerned, as soon as you get on the ship, you can go to one specialty restaurant and book all of your dining, with the exception of Japanese restaurant. Japanese restaurant is the only thing you have to go directly to them to book it. Other than that, you can go to one specialty restaurant. If they have 7 different restaurants, you can book all of them, all of your days, give you all your times, and book them all at that one time. But they book up fast. The times book up fast and the days book up fast. So it's imperative that you do it as soon as you get on the ship, because if you don't, then you could miss out. And I've heard a lot of people who did buy the unlimited dining package not be able to go to a lot of restaurants at any time on their cruise because they got booked up. Yeah, as soon as you get on the ship, book them. If you book individual specialty dining packages, usually you can do that online. But if you can't do it online, that needs to be the first thing that you do when you get on the ship, is book your dining room reservations as soon as possible. Yeah, big tip. Okay, for my next tip, this is depending on what cruise ship you're on. If you're on a Carnival ship or ships that do not require this, you don't have to worry about it. And what I'm talking about is your entertainment venues, your Broadway shows, your water shows, ice shows, stuff like that. A lot of times when you get on a cruise ship, if it's a big cruise ship especially, you have to reserve seats for shows. What they usually do is they take reservations first, and then if there's any seats left over, they will let the standby people get in. But a lot of times those shows will book up quick because they might not have 1 or 2 shows during a week on a cruise. So if you have 4,000 people on a ship and the theater seats 2,000 and they only have 2 shows, they'll book up super fast. So there's a good chance that when you get on the ship, if you don't reserve that show, you will not be able to get in there to see it. So if you have shows that you can reserve, get on the ship and book them. You can usually do it through your app. So as soon as you get on your ship and you download the app for that cruise ship, check all of the entertainment, all of the shows that they have. Make sure that they do not require reservations for those shows. And if they do, get it as soon as you can, because they will book up fast if they do need to be reserved. So do that as well. Okay, this is another very important tip for all of you cruisers, and that is, please, whatever you do, please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it so much. I know that's a horrible segue into a shameless promotion, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you like these videos, you like my content, you like seeing everything that I do and keep up to date with everything that I do, please hit that subscribe button. It does nothing but help me and help me build my channel. I'm trying so hard to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, which it seems like it's going to be in forever before I get to 1,000, but I'm still trying. I'm trying to make that road to 1,000. And right now I think I'm at like 295. And to be honest, I never thought I would get to 295. 60 something videos later and 295 subscribers later, I'm still yakking to you guys on the YouTube channel. So I would appreciate it if you guys would subscribe. I would appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to my channel. Like it, please share with your friends, hit the notification button as well so you will know every time I do put out a video. I appreciate all of you who have subscribed. I appreciate everybody who has just watched these videos. When people say it does nothing but help the channel, they say it for a reason, because it does help our channel. It helps my channel, it helps me grow, it helps me get more content out there, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. I hope you guys enjoy watching it. So let's get back to the last few do's and don'ts of cruising. Okay, so since I just told all of you guys to make sure you reserve your shows as soon as you get on the ship, my next tip is a don't. Don't assume that all those shows are going to be done on the ship. They cancel shows all the time on cruise ships. Sometimes it might be technical issues. There might be a number of issues that can cause a show to cancel. So don't assume that every show is going to happen. A lot of times cruise ships will do 2 shows during the cruise. So if you're on a 7-day cruise, they'll have a Broadway show and they'll show it 2 times on the ship. A lot of times they might have to cancel it because the weather's too rough and they can't do the show when the weather's too rough. They will try to do it a different night, so they will still try to get those 2 shows in, but just don't assume that because they said that there is a Broadway show or an Aqua show on the ship, don't assume that it will happen, because they can cancel. Okay, so for my next tip, and this is kind of a big one too, they're all actually big because, you know, everything will help you have a smoother cruise, but this one I learned the hard way, especially on my last cruise, and that is when you get on a cruise ship, make sure that you bring with you stuff that you think you will need for the whole day. And what I mean by that is, as soon as you get to the cruise port, the first thing they do is take your luggage. You can opt to bring a bag. As soon as you get on the ship, you're not immediately able to get into your room because they have to clean them and get them ready for the next batch of people who get on the cruise ship. So usually they will put a time somewhere between 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon before you are allowed to get in your room. That doesn't mean as soon as you get to your room, your luggage will be there. My last cruise, I was able to get in my room about 1 o'clock, and I was hot and sweaty from the day. I wore pants. Why I wore pants in Florida, I don't know, but I did. It was 95 degrees. I had pants on. I was, again, sweaty and hot. I wanted to change clothes. I couldn't because my luggage did not get into the room until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So I had no toothbrush. I had no clothes to change into because I had to wait for my luggage, and I should have brought an extra pair of clothes or something on my backpack. If you think you're going to need something while you get on the ship, especially medications and stuff like that, I would just say never put your medications in your suitcase. Always just keep them with you. If you think you're going to need something, as soon as you get on the ship, within the next 4 or 5 hours, put it in a backpack and carry it with you, because you really don't know when your luggage will get there. Most of the time they'll get there within a couple of hours. They're not usually too slow on that, but you do have to remember they're giving 3,000 to 4,000 people their luggage in their rooms, and it takes time. So if you think you're going to need something when you get on the ship, try to bring what you can with you. Put it in a backpack, a little bag that you can carry around. Just bring something that you think that you're going to need while you're on the ship. Okay, so this next do and don't is kind of a 2-part. The first part is, if you can help it, don't book an excursion outside of the cruise line. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times cruise lines will offer you specific excursions when you get to certain ports. And if you can, book those. And the reason why is, number one, if you book, and we'll use Royal Caribbean as an example. If you're on a Royal Caribbean ship and you go to Nassau and you book an excursion through Royal Caribbean and it's an all-day excursion, when you get to that port, they say, hey, letting you off the ship at 8 o'clock in the morning, you got to be back on the ship at 4 o'clock p.m. We're leaving out at 4 o'clock p.m. And you book an excursion through Royal Caribbean. You have to get on a boat and go to a little island. Sometimes something happens where they don't get back in time. Say your excursion's until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you get on your little boat to get back to the port, something happens. You have mechanical damage or something happens. Well, you're not going to be able to get back to the ship by 4 o'clock. If it's through Royal Caribbean, they have to wait for you because it's their excursion, it's their company, it's their problem. They have to wait for that group of people who booked an excursion through their company. On the flip side of that, and this is where I say if you can, don't book outside of Royal Caribbean. If you book an excursion that takes you to a distant area and it's a long excursion and it's cutting the time close to when you're supposed to leave, and you book it through an outside agent, they will not wait for you if you're late because you booked it through an outside agency. You're supposed to be at the ship at a certain time and you're not. They're not going to wait for you forever. Sometimes they'll wait a little bit, especially if there's a lot of people that are late. I book through outside agencies, but when I do, I make sure that what I'm booking, I get back to the port well before we're supposed to get back. B, it's super close to the port, so I know worst case scenario, I can get a taxi or I can just walk back to the port. So yeah, just make sure you're back to the ship on time. Try to get there a little bit earlier just so you don't have to worry about that. If you can, try to book through the cruise line and not book through an outside agency. So if something does happen, they will be responsible for it and not yourself. All right, so for these last few tips and do's and don'ts, they're kind of easy, self-explanatory. You'd be surprised how many people forget these tips. And so I'll run through these pretty quick. And one of them is make sure you bring everything that you know that you're going to need for however long you're staying. Your medications, toiletries. We forgot a toothbrush one time on the ship and we thought, oh, we'll just go down to the little shop and buy one. They had none. Just a simple toothbrush item that we just happened to forget to bring with us on a cruise ship and thought we could just go downstairs and buy one, and no, they didn't have any. So luckily we got to a port and were able to get off the ship and go buy a toothbrush. Make sure all your toiletries, your toothbrush, shaving stuff, soaps, shampoos, medications. Make sure you do not forget all of your medications. Band-Aid, Tylenol, or ibuprofen, motion sickness medications, all of that stuff. Make sure you bring it because you just don't know what the ship will and will not have. They sell out of things a lot. Some ships I've been on and went down to go get some aspirin because I had a headache or some ibuprofen. They didn't even have any. Yeah, make sure when you pack your stuff and you're on this trip, just double, triple check everything that you think you're going to need for that cruise. So for my next tip is make sure you bring a USB port charger with you on a ship because most ships that you will get on do not have USB ports. Some of them do, the newer ships do, but for the most part there's a lot of ships that do not. They only have one plug, maybe two plugs in the room. So when you do bring your chargers, make sure you bring one that has at least maybe one or two USB ports. If you have a phone that needs to be charged, if you have camera equipment or whatever you have, most stuff is being charged on USB anyway. Cruise ships really do need to update their plugs, especially the older ships that just have one plug, because they don't allow a lot of multi-plugs and power cords and stuff like that because of safety reasons. At the same time, people who have 2 or 3 people in their room and they have 2 or 3 phones and they need more than one USB port, try to bring a multi-port, but don't make it one of those big long, power outlets that have USB ports. Get you a one plug USB multi-port that has like 3 or 4 in there. So yeah, bring USB port. Okay, so just a couple more do's and don'ts. This is a big don't. It should be an obvious don't, but you'd really be surprised how many do this don't. And that's don't throw everything that you have in a toilet like you would at home. The last thing that you want on a cruise ship is for your toilet to get clogged up. It is a complete nightmare when your toilets get clogged up. Don't throw paper towels, big chunks of stuff, gum, normal things that you think would go down a toilet. They struggle on ships. You have to remember there is like 2,000, 3,000 commodes on one ship. They don't have a lot of sucking, flushing power. And if you throw a lot of crap into the toilet, boy, wasn't that a pun? A lot of crap into the toilet. If you throw a lot of stuff into the commode and flush it and it gets stuck, you're hurt because it's going to stink. You got to call them to fix it. They could charge you if you threw something down there that caused a backup. They can make you liable for that as well. You'd be surprised how many people screw their toilets up and have to have maintenance come down there and fix it, and they don't like doing that at all. That's why they sometimes charge people if they do that. So just kind of a heads up for you. Another quick one is make sure all of your stuff in your room works. Make sure all your lights work. Make sure your television works. Make sure all of the buttons on your TV works. I've gone into rooms and had issues. Make sure your toilet flushes correctly. Speaking of commodes, I've gone to rooms and had issues with commodes. I always check that stuff immediately so down the road I won't get blamed for it, A. And B, if I go ahead and check on it and make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be, if something is an issue and I need help, I can go ahead and call and have them come and fix it so we don't have to worry about it later. We've had issues in the past when we've gotten on cruise ships where our TV didn't work properly, where our remote control didn't work. Sometimes the lights weren't working, the air condition wasn't coming on, and the commode was getting stopped up and we never even used the commode. Yeah, check your stuff in your room when you get in there. Okay, this next one is for all of you flyers. Again, this one I've had issues with before because when you book a cruise, you book a flight going in and you book a flight coming home. This last cruise, I booked a flight coming home and I booked out of Port Canaveral. Now, Port Canaveral is about 45 minutes from the nearest airport. So when I got off the ship, I had a 45-minute ride back to the airport from the ship. I needed to be at the airport by, I think, 9:30, 10 o'clock-ish, because my plane left at 11 a.m. And I did not even get to the airport until 10:30. I cut it very close, almost missed my flight, and the reason why was because the ship that I was on took forever to get us off the ship. We didn't get back until 8 o'clock that morning. The way that they let people off, they did it by status, platinum status, gold status, silver status, whatever. They had a section for people who had early flights, which I was a part of, but they let all the sweet people go before us. They let all of the platinum people and all those people go. And it took some time. Even though debarking a ship is easier now because you don't have to go through customs and wait in long lines, it still takes a while for you to be able to get off of the ship once they allow you off the ship to your car, to a taxi or shuttle to get you to the airport. Even though we were allowed to get off the ship at 8, I didn't get off the ship until almost 9:30. And yeah, I was cutting it super close. So I would suggest when you have to book a flight home, try to book it 5 or 6 hours from the time that you are supposed to get back to port. Give yourself plenty of time to be able to get off the ship and get a ride back to the airport. Don't cut it close because, again, it could keep you from making your flight. I know people have missed their flights because of things like that before. When you book cruises and you book flights, try to do it in a way that gives you plenty of time to get to the ship and also give you enough time to get back to the airport where you're not being rushed. So yeah. Okay, so my last couple of tips are take the travel insurance out when they give you that option. If you have a credit card that offers travel insurance, take it out, because with cruises these days, you never know. Things happen on cruises. Cancellations happen on cruises. If you don't have travel insurance, those things do not get refunded to you. It's a good idea to put travel insurance as an option on your cruises. That way, if stuff does happen, you are able to get some or all of your money back, because cruise lines do not offer money back unless they are absolutely responsible for them. So just take out the travel insurance, because you just never know, especially when you are in another country. If you get sick, something happens, you need to go to the hospital, the travel insurance helps cover those costs. So travel insurance is not that much. Take it out. So yeah. Another tip is tips. They do actually have as an option when you book a cruise to pay for gratuities prior to the cruise. That is highly recommended because it's not that much money, and people usually think when they're paying that for the room steward, and that is not the case. Anybody who pays the extra gratuities, number one, not everybody pays for them. A lot of people say, well, I'm not going to pay for it on the pre-cruise, I will tip the people when I get on the ship. When they do the prepaid gratuities, it gets split up between every single person on that ship. The waiters, the waitresses, the bartenders, the room stewards, everybody who works on that ship gets a split of those gratuities. And it doesn't come out to a whole lot of money. So they're not getting that much money from those tips, especially when they have to be split amongst everyone. So if you have a good room steward, if you have good service at the dining room, people are going beyond and above their job to make it good for you. Tip them, because they appreciate that more than anything. And people always ask, should I give people gifts? Should I give them this? Should I give them that? Give them money. Cash is king on ships. They love cash because they use that cash to call their families at home. They use that cash to buy internet service for the ship. The crew members on the ship do not get free internet. We have to pay for it, and so do they. They have to pay for their own internet service. So when they try to call in home, they get charged for that. They don't want a teddy bear. They don't want a card that says thank you. Here's a gift card to Olive Garden for $40. Give them cash. That's the best thing you can give them. All right, so that's it. That's all the advice, the do's, the don'ts, the cans and cannots I can give you. I've run out of things to talk about. There's 1,000 more things I actually could have told you about cruise ships, but I think those are the major ones, especially for newer cruisers, that would help you have a better cruise and a smoother cruise. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I like making them. I hope you like watching them. Thank you guys again for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. So much appreciated. Again, I'm trying to hit that 1,000 mark. Trying to do it by September, because I bet that I could do it. Somebody else bet I couldn't. I don't want to lose that money, so help me win that money. It's not a lot. It's like $10, but still. Anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate you all watching. Peace and love, and I will see you on my next voyage. Bye.